Inside an average American medicine cabinet, generic prescriptions are a constant presence. For millions of seniors, these are the daily necessities required to manage health and sustain life. Most consumers take these bottles at face value. There is an implicit trust that the pills inside were manufactured under strict American oversight and passed rigorous FDA inspections. But over 30 years, that oversight has quietly vanished. As drug production moved overseas, the people who rely on these medications were left completely in the dark about their true origin. The vital medicine keeping our most vulnerable citizens alive is now largely controlled by foreign nations, operating entirely outside the reach of American safety protocols. Tracing a generic pill backward from the pharmacy counter, supply lines leave the country. They span the Pacific to industrial pharmaceutical hubs across India and China. China produces most active ingredients in these medications, yet the FDA conducts virtually no factory inspections. American regulators have zero visibility into these production lines, meaning ingredient safety is left to the discretion of a foreign adversary. Independent studies of these imported generics have uncovered consistent safety failures, proving that the lack of oversight leads directly to contaminated and unsafe products. Outsourcing our biological supply chain to an adversarial nation creates a systemic national security vulnerability, hidden right inside your local pharmacy. We've seen this leverage used as a threat. During COVID-19, China signaled it could cut off supplies of personal protective equipment to the United States. That same playbook could be applied to generic drugs. By withholding shipments, the Chinese government could effectively freeze the American healthcare system at will. High costs and supply shortages often leave patients with few options. Seeking relief, many seniors turn to the internet to find cheaper online medications. Bypassing the pharmacy chain is a fatal gamble. Data indicates over 70% of illicit drugs sold outside regulated pharmacies are laced with fentanyl. This is killing seniors who have no history of drug abuse. They are often victims of surgery recovery who unknowingly buy what they believe is a safe painkiller, only to receive a poisoned pill. These supply chains threaten Americans twice. First, through the risk of catastrophic national shortages, and second, through the direct poisoning of the illicit online market. The threat isn't confined to the other side of the globe. Foreign adversaries exploit American systems just 90 miles off the Florida coast in Cuba. The Cuban regime harbors Chinese spy stations and a Hezbollah presence, while the government itself facilitates extensive Medicare and Medicaid fraud to siphon money out of the U.S. system. Leadership in Havana is beginning to feel the weight of these actions. Following indictments from the U.S. Department of Justice, figures like Raul Castro face the possible collapse of their control. Like Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela, Castro faces increasing isolation and the very real prospect of spending his remaining years in prison. From Medicare fraud in Havana to uninspected factories in Beijing, hostile regimes actively drain and exploit the U.S. healthcare system to fund their own survival. To address these vulnerabilities, Senator Rick Scott is championing the Clear Labels Act, a bipartisan effort to secure the pharmaceutical supply. The bill has gained broad support across the aisle, with co-sponsorship from New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. The mechanism is simple. It forces manufacturers to clearly disclose the origin of every drug and its individual ingredients. Transparency shifts the power dynamic. It allows consumers to actively choose products made in the U.S., rather than unknowingly relying on imports from an adversary. Genuine choice is only possible when the public has access to the facts. Without clear information, patients are unable to protect their own health from those who would profit from secrecy. Uncovering these hidden risks is why independent media platforms are essential. They provide the reach necessary to inform the public about the threats that mainstream narratives often overlook. Relying on adversarial supply chains is a direct security risk. Only through an informed public and a free flow of information can America begin to rebuild its defenses.